Night Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, the secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, René Barnett.
Hey everybody, welcome to Night Vision. So glad that you could join us tonight. And if this is your first time here, I hope it won't be your last. I'm really excited about tonight's show. As you know, I've made a deal with Don Ecker. I twisted his arm almost clean off, and he agreed to come on from time to time and regale us with some UFO history. So tonight, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to be looking at some great cases, some not so great cases, and some utterly ridiculous cases. So I know you'll join me in welcoming Don to the show.
Oh, Renee, it's so good to see you. I kind of figured, here we are, almost the end of January. Can you freaking believe it? And I thought you'd be in France.
Not yet. I'm going, I was going to go next month, but I decided to wait until March. So I'm actually going over there mid-March.
Off to the continent. For about a month and a half. God. Off to the continent.
Yeah, back to my ancestral lands. I claim them all, though, because I've got so many different things running through my veins, so many different ethnicities and countries and everything else. I can claim just about any country I want to.
I'll tell you the truth. Primarily, now I've never had a DNA test, but my ancestors on my mom's side were Irish and maybe some French. This was the deal. They came out of Ireland, okay, and there were some that came over to the New World, to what today is the United States, to my home state of Pennsylvania. But some went to France. Somewhere in there were a number of Catholic priests from my family, okay? And one of them ended up moving to, where my family was in central western PA, and began a monastery, if you can believe that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, my dad's side, they were primarily Welsh and German. So they're all a bunch of damn rabble-rousers,
The Ecker name definitely sounds German. And Welsh, I've got a lot of Welsh as well. My great-grandmother's people were from Wales, the Maddoxes or the Maddogs. But have you done your genealogy?
Oh, not really. I haven't. My mother at one point, and of course she's been gone now for almost 30 years, but she had done some of that. My aunt, but I always figured they're going to turn up horse thieves that were hung, and I don't want to know about it.
You know what, Don? I felt the same way. And, with the Bloodline mystery, the Bloodline movie that I did and everything, everybody was claiming to be in the bloodline and all this. And I thought, I don't want to get my DNA done because it's not going to be anything, or my genealogy done, because I'm not going to be related to anybody, probably some, mud shoveler.
They're going to tell me something I don't want to know. So.
Yeah, well, they might do that because there were a couple of things in there that I'm not too sure about. But But I was surprised at the characters that came up. And the further back you go, of course, the fewer people there were. So the more likely, that you could be related to someone, that.
Oh, sure.
The only thing about being related to someone that was prominent or royal or aristocratic is that there's actual documentation about their lives.
Well, here's the thing about the royalty then. They all had a hard time keeping their zipper up.
Well, yeah, they also kind of kept it in the family a lot too, but we won't go there. That's why all of them are so crazy. But, tonight I really want to get down to some great stories. And I know we have a limited time. And I would like to get, maybe hit at least 3. We'll start with maybe a good one. And then we'll go to sort of a questionable one. And then we'll go to one that I think we'll both agree is probably either ridiculous at best and maybe underhanded at worst.
Oh, in the UFO field? Come on.
No, not the UFO field. But, you're one of the few people that I've ever met that ever had a conversation with John Keel of Mothman fame. And, there's a story out there about the Mothman prophecies. I'm just going to read a little bit about what's in the public domain. I'm just going to read you something from Wikipedia. And then I'd love for you to either confirm, deny, or rip it apart.
Okay.
As you will. Okay. So for those who may not know, because this happened quite some time ago, probably before some of our listeners were born. But now this is Wikipedia, this is not me. In West Virginia folklore, the Mothman is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. The first newspaper report was published in the Point Pleasant Register, dated November 16, 1966, titled, "Couples See Man-Sized Bird Creature Something." The national press soon picked up the reports and helped spread the story across the United States. Now, there's where I'm not going to go into too much more detail because they say the source of the legend was believed to be sandhill cranes or herons. Anyway, it says the creature was introduced to a wider audience by Gray Barker in 1970 and was later popularized by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, claiming that there were paranormal events related to the sightings and a connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The book was later adapted into a 2002 film starring Richard Gere, which had totally departure from the story in my book. But anyway, so of that, who was Gray Barker? I've never heard that name before I started looking into the story again tonight.
Well, Gray Barker famously once wrote.
Would you like some popcorn?
No, thanks. My throat gets dry. What was a UFO researcher going back to the very beginning of the public knowledge and fascination of UFOs in the early 50s. He wrote a book that was very famous at the time. They knew too much about flying saucers, about the Men in Black.
Okay. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Now, Gray Barker was, and let's see, this is a family-friendly show, right?
I think so.
He and Jim Moseley and Jim Moseley, of course, is the guy who basically goes back to that time period too. A few years later,
and we're going to get into Jim Moseley too a little bit later in more detail.
Moseley became a semi-regular guest on Long John Neville's radio program, out of New York. All right. Long John Neville was basically one of the very first paranormal UFO type broadcasters. He kind of laid the trail that later many others had since followed. But Mosley and Barker were fast friends, and they created a number of, I found them devastating hoaxes and basically, I'll just be blunt, bullshit stories. If Gray Barker, now at one point he did do some legitimate research, but if Gray Barker told me the sky was blue, I'm going to go outside and look.
You're going to go check it. Yeah,
Right.
I heard that he was involved in some real research or cases, but he was also thought to have perpetrated some hoaxes.
Some big ones at the time. He and Mosley both. As a matter of fact, at one point, there was a letter that circulated. Somebody had gotten their hands on some government cap sheet, okay? And now I'm going strictly by memory. I think it might have been Department of Transportation. But
what did you call it?
Department of Transportation.
No, the what they got, cap sheet?
Capskate, yeah.
Oh, what is that?
Letterhead. Basically letterhead, official government type letterhead.
Okay. I never heard that term.
And Mosley and Barker phonied up this letter that they gave, once again by memory, I think it was to a contactee. And this guy was convinced that basically came from a government official, which he was using that, look, the government knows about this. Look at the letter they sent me. And the FBI got involved doing an investigation on it. And Mosley and Barker got so freaked out by that. Remember, this is the 1950s, that Mosley totally smashed the typewriter that they wrote the letter on, and he and Barker took the pieces out and buried them around the countryside. Okay?
Oh my
God!
So
that was Gray Barker.
Destroying evidence.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
justice.
Getting back to John Keel. Okay, when I came home from the Army after I got back from Southeast Asia in 1972.
Thank you for your service.
Huh?
Thank you for your service.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
all of it.
You can send money if you want to, Renee.
Okay, right. I'll send you 50 cents.
You said you didn't have 50 cents.
Well, I was lying. I do have 50 cents.
All right. So anyway, I subscribed to Fate magazine because I was looking for something to kind of get my creative juices going, and I saw an ad in there for an up-and-coming book, and I, of course, knew who John Keel was. Operation Trojan Horse and a bunch of other books. One, by the way, proved very fruitful in my later years of research by Keel, called Disneyland of the Gods. And ask me about that later, Disneyland of the Gods.
I will.
But anyway, when I saw this ad about, and I had remembered vividly when the Silver Bridge collapsed. Hey, Point Pleasant was only a couple of hours away from my hometown. Okay. Oh. And when that whole thing was going on with the creature reports and on, I sat up and took notice, because in Pennsylvania then, although the news media never covered it, we started having throughout the state a flap of UFOs. Not only Pennsylvania, but obviously West Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey, okay, and New York. And it
where
was almost
John Keel when all this was going on?
well, Keel, who never considered himself a ufologist,
Mm-hmm.
considered himself a 410 investigator. Do you know who Charles Fort was?
Yep,
Many in the audience may not.
may not. They
But
might have
back-
heard of the 14 Times,
Yeah.
the
But Charles
magazine.
was probably the first chronicler of UFO reports going back in the 19th century, before 1900, and all the way up through. Now, Fort scoured newspapers far and wide, collected stories, began later an investigative body called the 410s was begun, okay, which John Keel was a part of and considered himself a 410. Well, I got the book when it came out. I think it was like 1976, if I'm not mistaken. And as soon as I received that, I read it cover to cover. And then I read it again. Now, it wasn't until the 1980s that I finally tracked John down and started giving him a number of phone calls. John Keel was one of the people. I don't know if you knew this, Renee, but he was, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, Renee Barnett was my wife, Vicki, the founder and publisher of UFO Magazine. Renee was with us for 5 years or more as our managing editor. So, just so you know, we have
history.
We got history. So anyway, it was John Keel that I can kind of blame for putting me on the whole human mutilation research that I was involved in for 3 solid plus years. It was Keel that was one of the people that got me on that.
Now, was that related to other cases, or was there mutilations involved with the Mothman?
Oh yeah. Well, not with the Mothman that I'm aware of.
But he was also researching the mutilations thing.
Oh, cattle and other animals, missing dogs. A lot of people lost their dogs at that time. Okay. And but John was a character. Later, about 1991, when Richard Saraday and I met. Now, Richard had been a very successful working actor. For 4 years, he was a star on General Hospital. He was in the original Midway movie with Glenn Ford.
Oh, he was?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gosh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. He played one of the pilots searching for the Japanese fleet before the battle. Richard.
Now I got to go back and watch Midway.
He was on the aircraft Strawberry 12.
Wow.
Okay. But Richard had a very rich acting history. Well, he had always incidentally been fascinated and involved to an extent with paranormal research. And he knew about UFO Magazine, read UFO Magazine, called us up. Rich and I met. We immediately hit it off. We became, oh my God. At the end, when we lost him, we were like brothers, huh?
Yeah, I said best buddies.
Yeah, we were like brothers. And Richard, at that time, This was before he and I started pitching an idea to networks around town about a magazine show, UFO magazine, that we had talked to a lot of different groups, including the Science Fiction Channel, which I thought would have been a perfect match. They didn't have any money at the time. But anyway, he said, because I had been giving him books to read to bring him up to speed. And one of the books I gave him was The Mothman Prophecies. And he said, my God, he said, this would make one hell of a... He said, do you know John Keel? And I said, yeah, I do. He said, oh my God, do you think you could call him up and put me in touch with him? And I said, well, sure, I could. What do you have in mind? He said, well, I'd like to see about getting the rights to do a screenplay for this book and then shopping it around. And I said, all right. So anyway, I called Keel up and told him what was going on, introduced him to Rich, and they started to talk. And when they were done, Rich said, well, okay, John, thank you, and hung up. And I said, well, what did he think? He said, he couldn't have been less interested. And I said, what? He said, yeah, well, the first thing he told me, how the hell would you turn this into a movie? Okay. He said, there's no main plot or anything. Well, you saw what Richard Gere ended up doing.
Yeah. I
got to tell you, I was not impressed.
No.
With that movie at all. But anyway, Keel was a curmudgeon. All right.
Yeah.
He was.
Well, I got news for you. So was Zechariah Sitchin. Your good friend Zechariah.
Yeah, well, he never was that much with me, but
he was like, I don't mean he was such a curmudgeon, but he was like, if he had his mind set on something, he was immovable.
Oh yeah.
He was great though. I was glad I got a chance.
Do you remember the night I was interviewing him on UFOs Tonight, and we were getting calls, and I hit the wrong button and cut him off? Do you recall that? And as soon as we got him back, the first thing out of his mouth, Don, do not touch the buttons.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Oh, my gosh. Do not touch the buttons, Don. That was great. That was great. So what was John Keel's sort of entree into the Mothman story? Was he just reading about it like everybody else? And
No. He had seen. I'm really dredging up the dusty recesses in my mind. There had been a story that had come out of West Virginia about somebody having a cat, a kitty cat, a little kitty cat, tabby, whatever, that had wings, okay, and could kind of halfway fly. This is the story he got. What? So he's living in New York, right? So he zooms down to West Virginia, and he's looking for this place that these people that have this cat. And he finally found them, okay? So now, you got to remember, this is like 65, 66. Keel, this is really before the hippie movement really got going, right? Keel is down there with a beard and mustache, okay? Back in a time when nobody but college professors had goatees and mustaches or beards, all right? And he's down there clomping around in a dark suit, got a fedora type hat, and he later said, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, the way those people mythologize everything, that a story comes out when the devil came down to West Virginia looking for the flying cat.
Oh, wow.
Because he was a character like that. But anyway, he got down there and he heard stories about people citing this alleged cryptid creature. All right. Now, here was the thing that wasn't really publicized until later. Those cryptids seem to have an inordinate interest in blood. And women that were menstruating, had some encounters where these things swooped in on them. In one case, Keel documented where a Red Cross bloodmobile, had been out collecting blood donations. And if you've never been to West Virginia, boy, you talk about going to God's country and being out in the middle of nowhere. That's West Virginia, big parts of it.
Yeah.
And this bloodmobile was driving down this country road when, and Keel swore this was real, this UFO flew down from the sky, was pacing this bloodmobile, and according to John, this craft then extended on each side of the UFO what looked like a claw, and it was trying to pick up the bloodmobile. Now, hey, I wasn't there. I didn't see this.
Okay, now, why did John swear it was true? Is this something he saw?
It was something that he investigated with the people that were involved. Who did see it, right? And the only reason this thing got apparently chased away, some more traffic was coming down the opposite direction toward the bloodmobile. And the UFO obviously observed that, retracted the arms, the claws, and then shot back up in the sky. Now, that's also the same area where the Woody Derenberger story happened. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Oh, well,
I think Woody, I would remember that name.
Yeah.
Like Bumstead.
Did you ever hear the name Indrid Cold? Indrid Cold?
Sounds familiar.
Well, that's involved Woody Derenberger's story. Woody Derenberger was a salesman, if I remember correctly, and he basically was out on some type of thing. Now, later on, some more interesting information ended up becoming part of that story. I'll get to that in a second. But he's driving down the highway. It's a kind of a rainy, foggy night, day, early evening, when out of the sky comes this lantern-shaped craft that comes down right over the highway, almost no traffic, and it hovers there. Derenberger said he observed this, pulled over, see what in the heck is going on, and suddenly this man approached him. He identified himself in perfect English as Indrid Cold. Okay. They chatted for a few minutes, and then Cold made a very cryptic statement: "I will see you in time." Turned around, walked back to his craft, got on board, and they took off. Now, later, Derenberger disappeared for a few days. Now, I got to say, as soon as this happened, he started telling people about it. Now, UFOs then were very hot, okay, during that period of time.
Not too long after Roswell, I mean, or what year was that?
This was in the 60s.
Oh, okay. So still not that long.
No, not that long. But there were a lot of UFO cases that were being reported around the United States. Hillsdale College thing in 65. What was then happening in other parts of West Virginia. John Keel's involvement. But I don't want to get too sidetracked with Derenberger. No. But look him up online, Woody Derenberger. And but it came out that Woody, who was married, might have had a girlfriend on the side. And instead of being abducted for several days, which when he got back, he claimed he was taken to this planet, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, my Lord.
And then they brought him back. But he swore up and down that his girlfriend had nothing to do with it. So, some of the more colorful characters.
I wonder if that girlfriend is still alive today. It'd be great to talk to her and say, is he lying?
Yeah.
Just, he was crazy.
But this Mothman case became more and more terrifying. It turns out that during the Second World War, apparently this area had also been used as an ammunition storage area. And I'll never forget, Keel became quite incensed. He never went into great depth, but I got the impression that some of those bunkers and things that they had been storing munitions in may have been found with stuff still in them. And if something would have happened, that would have been one heck of a mess, okay, if any of them would have blown up. But
you always see or hear about, UFOs and things like that around munitions depots and nuclear silos and things like that. What do you think they're up to?
Well,
are they trying to keep track that we're not going to blow up the whole world, or?
Well, the nuclear weapons is what they've really apparently been very deeply interested in. Going back to the Manhattan Project during the war, immediately following that, there were nuclear reactors up in the state of Washington. As a matter of fact, that's where the Army Air Force got the plutonium for the Nagasaki bomb that was developed up there. There were nuclear reactors in Tennessee, and both these places had seen many times UFOs overflying them. So yeah, they've always had a great interest, and that's even before the Loring Air Force Base, incursions and in 67 and later in the Dakotas in the mid 70s, where actually, if you believe the research that Larry Fawcett and Barry Greenwood did in their seminal book, all right, that
Larry Fawcett, he disappeared, right?
Who?
Didn't Larry Fawcett disappear?
He died.
Oh, he died? Was it mysterious?
No.
Okay.
No, Larry died. As a matter of fact, when I did the job for Disney in Orlando, in 95, January of 95, I actually ran into Larry there. Larry had retired from the police department, huh?
You brought me a T-shirt, a Mickey Mouse T-shirt from there.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Do you?
I do. It's about to fall apart now, but I still have it. Speaking of Disney, what was it you were going to say about John Keel's Disney book?
Disneyland of the Gods.
Disneyland of the Gods.
His book, okay. It was about some of the crazy, crazy things that he ran into. And the book became very important in my research when I did a whistleblower investigation on Guy Kirkwood, one of the whack jobs in the UFO field, who had been passing himself off for years as a former Air Force pursuit pilot from the 50s that had been based in a secret squadron in Utah, tasked with chasing UFOs and filming them. Now, this guy was so good at it, this guy Kirkwood, that he made it into Tim Good's first edition of Above Top Secret.
Yeah.
Okay. Later, he was taken out after my expose.
Wow.
But anyway, he had been running this scam for years. So I had a call from a longtime UFO guy by the name of Fritz Krohn here in LA.
Yes.
Okay. This was immediately following a television show that Linda Howe had brought Guy Kirkwood on this show with her.
Oh.
Okay. Doing his Air Force pilot scam.
Right.
And I hadn't seen it. All right. It was
and she was under the impression at the time that he was legit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Fritz called me up and I started doing some digging. And one of the people I talked to was John Keel. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, my book, Disneyland of the Gods, he said it's being republished by, it was a press at the time. I forget now who, but it were people that we knew, all right, that republished a number of John's books. And I got a copy of it and I read, and I ended up contacting, do you remember B1 Bob Dorner, the congressman from Orange County?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Well, he was
from Orange County.
Huh?
Congressman from Orange County.
Yeah, yeah. Well, his brother, Don Dornan, during that time period, had been a Look magazine reporter and photographer. And I got in touch with his brother. And we ended up having like a 4 or 5 hour lunch meeting downtown. And he had done a major expose in the 60s on Kirkwood. Now, at that time, Kirkwood was going under a different name. By the way, Guy Kirkwood was not his real name.
Oh, I see.
At that time, he was Mel Noel. But his real name was Noel Bryce Cornwall.
Cornwall.
Okay. Yeah. So when I did a little checking on that.
British?
Huh?
Was he British?
Oh, no, hell no.
Okay.
No, he was as American as
apple pie.
Yeah. Red, white, and blue, baby. No, he had been a Fuller Brush salesman. He had been a Arthur was at Arthur Murray's dance studio.
Our
Dance
dance studio.
He had been busted for kiting checks. I mean, he had a rap sheet like this.
Oh my gosh.
So I write this story, okay, for UFO magazine. Now, you know me, Renee. I've never been an ambusher. I've never jumped out at anybody from the bushes.
Right.
So I called Kirkwood up and I said, look, guy, here's the deal. I've written this article. It hadn't run yet. I want you, if you want, you can come out to the house. You can read it right here. Okay. If you got anything to say, you can say it right here. Now, I've been trying to get him to furnish me a copy of his military discharge papers, DD 214s. Well, the guy had never even been in the armed forces. All right.
Gosh.
Had never been in the Army. But I said, look, if you can furnish that, I'll tear this thing up right now. Well, sure as hell, he comes out. We go into the kitchen, sit down. Huh?
He came to your house?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
Oh, my gosh.
And I poured him a cup of coffee. I got the proofs out. I said, here it is, guy, read it. Well, he did. Now, there was a lot to the story, including this guy from Italy who had been living in South America. That guy had been buddies with down in Mexico. This guy supposedly had developed. Now, when I say this thing is crazy, believe me, it is. A death ray when Mussolini was still running Italy during the war. All right. Mussolini, according to the story, tried to capture this guy to get his death ray. The guy skedaddled to South America. All right. This is all part of the story. And it was funny. It was funny. But he's reading this. I have all these photographs. Okay. And some of them were damning. All right. Some of these photos were damning. And he gets done and he folds the papers up. He hands them to me. And I said, well, guy, got anything to say? He stood up, walked out the front door. That was the last time I saw him. Now,
wow,
the story ran. But 2 years later, do you remember Don Waldrop?
Yes, of course. MUFON. Yep, sure do.
So MUFON, I get a call at UFO Magazine from somebody, and he said, Don, did you see who LA MUFON is having come in next week to talk to MUFON? And I said, no, who? Because I wasn't, MUFON. So
right.
He said, it's Guy Kirkwood. And I went, what? Yeah, Guy Kirkwood. I said, are you sure? Yeah. So I said, okay, thanks. So I get on the phone and I call Waldrop up. This is before he moved to Florida.
Yeah.
And I said, Don, yeah, this is Don Ecker from UFO. Oh, hi. I said, tell me, just out of curiosity, did you read my expose a year or so ago on Guy Kirkwood in the magazine? Yeah. I said, well, I understand you got him coming into LA MUFON next week. And he kind of got quiet and he said, finally said, yeah. And I said, Don, the guy is a bullshit artist par excellence. He was never a freaking jet pilot in the Air Force or any other force. I said, it's your organization. I mean, hey, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
Well, why in the hell would you have him come in? He said, well, he can fill seats. And seats are like, at the time, I think it was like 10 or 15 bucks a seat to go here, there.
Yeah, you had to pay for those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, okay, buddy.
Wow.
Well, there we go.
That was trippy.
Well, that's UFO, the UFO field in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how people will just glom on to anybody that's out there.
Got a good story.
Story. Yeah, exactly.
Corey Good.
Yeah.
The time soldier. Okay. Leaves his bed at 5 years old. They whisk him to Mars. He grows up. Okay. He becomes a super soldier. He fights aliens for 20 years. Then, when he retires from the Martian army, I guess, they send him back to that very night, reduce him back to 5 years old, and he's in his bed, and his parents didn't even miss him. And freaking people believe that.
That's a neat trick if you can do it.
Yeah, no kidding. I'd like them to take me back to when I was 30.
I don't think we're going to get to half the stuff I wanted to talk about with you, but maybe if we could just briefly. So where would you rather go with this? Would you rather go, since the Gulf Breeze incident was a pretty big story and it went on for quite a while and everything. Do we have time to cover that? And I wanted to also circle back to Jim Mosley. And
no, Gulf Breeze, we don't have time.
Okay. So let's just
now your show stops at the 54-minute mark?
57.
Oh, 57. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got 10 more minutes. No, that's not enough time to anything. But there was a publication. We mentioned a guy earlier by the name of Jim Mosley. And I called it a rag, but there is a picture of it.
Saucer smear. Yeah.
Saucer smear. I remember seeing that come in, and it was always kind of weird and kind of goofy, and I never knew really quite what to make of Mosley. Was he disinformation guy?
No.
Was he just an attention?
He was a shit stirrer.
Okay.
And he was, at that time, for 30, 40 years. Okay, mostly.
What was his purpose for doing that?
I think to entertain himself.
Oh. So he wasn't like...
He had fun with it. Now, I got to tell you, he and I had a headbutting contest. He thought, you see, I took the whole UFO thing very seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. I had been a criminal investigator. I was at that time bound and determined to the best of my ability to discover, research, and prove as much as I could. In the magazine, in UFO, when Vicki and I published, and you published the magazine, we did not tolerate any of this airy-fairy crap, okay, like Guy Kirkwood.
You know, it was back in the days for about 15 years or however long it was that Vicki had the magazine. It was a serious journal. It was a smart read. You know, it wasn't fluff. It was done from a real journalistic point of view. I mean, Vicki is a professional journalist,
right?
You know, and she followed. That's what she set those terms for the magazine. That it was going to be a serious look at what's considered an edgy subject. You know, to try to get real evidence or for or against. We didn't care. We just wanted the truth. But, and of course you guys were already well into it by the time I came on the scene. But yeah, it was a serious magazine. I was, very proud of the way that it came out and everything. It did change after it changed hands. And
oh God, it fell into a container of bovine excrement. That's a very, very polite way of saying what happened. What happened?
I don't know.
The secret government, Renee. That's what it is.
See,
it became a real disgusting piece of shit. They no longer went for the factual articles. We did articles. We did investigations. We did some of what I consider to be the most standout reviews of new works coming into the field. We all did book reviews.
Yeah. And reviews of all the television shows and movies that pertain to the UFO subject.
Right. Right.
So we had our finger on the pulse of everything that was coming out.
Yeah, we did. But anyway, after it changed hands, it became basically a blather rag. The William Burns and his wife Nancy ended up with it, and they stopped what we had been doing. They brought in some people that, to me, couldn't buy a vowel, okay, much less write an article. And it all became these airy-fairy opinion pieces. And when that happened, that was the death knell of UFO magazine. Then Nancy, who at that time herself as the editor-in-chief, decided to take a year off where they stopped publishing the magazine so she could write her great American novel.
Oh.
Okay. And they were still taking subscriptions.
Oh, well,
that were never fulfilled.
good.
Okay. So, it just collapsed under its own weight at that point. But we were gone. Okay.
Yeah. I still have nostalgia about that magazine, and I've always kind of wished that Vicki would fire it up again or fire up another magazine like that.
Never happen in this lifetime.
No, I know. She won't hear of it. She will not hear of it. But it was good. It was good, and I think we put out some good stuff.
Yeah.
But gosh, we are slowly, not slowly, quickly heading toward, we got about 3.5 minutes left. But Dawn, tell us your show times again. You got about 15 shows running.
Well, yeah.
And
Dark Matters. Dark Matters.
You're the host of mine. You're wearing the host banner there.
Yeah.
Come on my show and just commandeer.
Of Dark Matters Radio. Okay. My show begins on Monday afternoons, Pacific time, 4 p.m. If you're on the East Coast, it's 7. And it's a 2-hour show. But on Thursdays, under the auspices of KGRA DB and our executive producer, Bill Skywatcher, Bill, before the holidays, began a new crossfire type show called UAP Crossfire. And on board are 4 of us, all right? Chris DiPerno, who is the MUFON State Director for New York, Commander Cobra, who had a program on KGRA previously called Task Force Griffin. He's a military pilot other guy, Martin Willis, who has UFO podcast, and myself. And we basically take what's happening in the field of UFO UAPs and then tear it apart.
Yep.
Sometimes we go after each other. Sometimes we go after others, but it's a very lively show. We had a hell of a show last night.
Well, that's what I was just getting ready to say. I've already heard other people talking about it, so I'm going to have to go back and catch that because I heard it was a very, very good one. Very lively.
Yeah. Paul Benowitz. Now, that's a name, if you're involved in this field, should be front and foremost on your mind. This was a civilian scientist who, and it was proven, okay, this is not conspiracy or anything else. This actually happened. This man was mentally disassembled by the United States Air Force Office of Special Investigations. They ran a massive disinformation campaign. Some night we ought to talk about that, Renee.
I want to talk about that.
And drove the man into a mental facility.
Yeah.
Okay.
So much to that story.
By the way, what are you doing Monday?
Oh, hey. I guess I'm probably going to come on your show.
That's right.
All right. You know what?
That's
We've got about 15 seconds left. So it's a deal. Turnabout's fair play. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about, but
I'll let you know.
Whatever it is, I'm game. All right, Don. Thank you so much.
You
are the go-to guy for any UFO history. Take care, everyone, and good night.